Hey guys, and welcome back to episode. Max and I have been discussing somewhere between 1 and 100. Starting to lose track of the weeks. I think the coronavirus is starting to get to everybody, quarantine. But I hope you guys had a great week. I know a couple weeks ago we talked about as Christians we're responsible for changing our outlook to match what the Bible says and not change the Bible to what our outlook. And so next week I really want to start diving into a series on some of the lies that we're being fed as Americans about the Bible. But today I want to talk about just a little more in depth about that idea of changing our perspective. Last night, Allie and I decided to watch a movie. It's the Jeremy Camp story, and the name is I Still Believe. A great movie, by the way. If you hadn't seen it, I recommend it. Truth and honesty, I may have missed the first 30 minutes or so. Allie claims I was snoring, but we're not sure if that's true or not. But what I really took away from the movie there towards the end was a lot of the hardships that he went through with his, well, I don't want to give away the movie, but a lot of the hardships that he went through, he very easily could have turned away from God, stopped believing. And there's a scene in the movie where he's talking to his father, and he asked his father, several times over their life that, they've prayed to God for certain things to happen and they didn't happen. And I thought it was really cool how the dad put it, that his life is full, not in spite of the bad things, but his life is full because of those things. And I just thought that's a really cool perspective and a really difficult perspective, especially right now, for you parents that are having to stay home with young children, or those that are used to being on the go and you're forced to be quarantined. And I know people are starting to go stir crazy, starting to have trouble with children, all that stuff. But maybe as Christians, the thing we need to be doing is changing our perspective on how we're looking at this thing. Maybe this quarantine, this extra time with family, this slowdown in the world is really a good thing. I know I was watching news recently, they were talking about the ozone, the hole in the ozone has started filling up because of the cut down in pollution, because we're just not driving as much, we're not having as many people out. And they said that the core of the earth has started to cool down, and I understand that's so awesome that God is using this as an opportunity to change His creation back more the way He designed it, and the footprint that we cause is going away. That's just so cool. So maybe instead of thinking about this virus as such a terrible thing, we could look at the positives that have come out of it. I saw something recently, and I really want to just throw that out there and wrap this thing up, and as we get ready to dive into this series. But when we talk about perspective and we talk about this idea of shifting our perspective, I think one of the key things as Christians we got to remember is it all depends on whose hands it's in. For instance, if I had a basketball in my hand, it'd be worth $20, $25. But you put that same basketball in Michael Jordan's hands, and it's worth $100 million. And football, the same thing. In my hands, it's worth $20, $25. But in the hands of Tom Brady, it's worth $100 million. Those of you that watched the Saturday Showdown 2 weeks ago, the paintings that Max and I did, they're probably combined not worth $1. But the one that Bob Ross did of the same thing is probably worth $1 million. And so it's all about whose hands it's in. If you gave me a couple fish and a couple loaves of bread, I could make myself a meal and maybe my kids a meal. But you put that same loaves of fish in Jesus' hands, and He feeds thousands. And you give me 3 nails and 2 pieces of wood, I build you a bird box. But you take those same nails and those same pieces of wood and put them in Jesus' hands, and the whole world receives salvation. So as you go through this week, take your troubles, your dreams, everything, and get them out of your hands and put them in God's hands. change your perspective to remember that in our hands that are flawed, there's going to be hardships. But when we put our lives and we put everything in Jesus' hands, we receive salvation in the perfect eternity. Love you guys. We'll see you next week.